So if you have 200 ringgit to spend on a case, which case should you actually get? Now we all know for a fact that 200 ringgit isn't much to spend on a chassis or a case. So what I did was I sort of looked around and I sort of narrowed down 4 of my most favorite, I would say not most favorite, it's just favorite cases out there that you should actually consider if you're looking to purchase a budget case. So first up, we have the TechWare Quad, which does provide some decent aesthetics from a cube form factor case. Now cooling wise, you get a massive 200mm fan right up front, which makes up for a whole load of intake. Now you can also fit a 240mm all-in-one cooler on this side bracket, but things may just get a little tight and stuffy. But if you're going for a full air-cooled build, you may just fit in a massive air cooler. Now the case fits up to an M-ATX motherboard and a standard ATX power supply unit. Now storage-wise, the quad fits up to 3 mechanical drives and 4 SSDs. The top panel remains visible, so you get a pretty clear idea on what's going on inside. The TechWare Quad comes in 2 color variants, the white version, which is priced at 189 ringgit, and 179 ringgit for the black one. For the first case of my choice that is priced under 200 ringgit, the TechWare Quad does seem to provide some decent value. When TechWare first came out with their alpha, it was probably one of the best ATX case you could purchase for under 200 ringgit. Then they released the TechWare Edge, which has tempered glass. So this does actually make the under 200 ringgit price mark a whole lot better. Now the Edge does come with 3 color variants, not on the exterior, but on the interior of the case instead, which is black, white, and red. You get a built-in shroud. Unfortunately, you're not able to remove them, which would make things much easier if you could. From the looks of the TechWare Edge, it does provide decent amount of airflow from the top and on the front vented panels. Now the Edge fits up to 2 3.5-inch mechanical drives on the rear and 2 SSDs on the front. 3 120mm fans are included as well, and the Edge fits 2 120mm fans on the top and 2 120mm fans on the front, or you could go for a 240mm all-in-one cooler. See, the case doesn't actually provide extraordinary appearance, but chooses to retain its simple or minimalist look, which is something that many of us, including myself, would still prefer. The Segotep Wider X3 case was recently launched in Computex, and I was pretty keen to have a look simply because, from what I know, Segotep tends to be pretty generous with their case fan bundles, and heck, they are even RGB and you also get a fan controller as standard. Now this one, the Wider X3, fits up to an ATX motherboard, and it is actually slightly wider compared to other ATX cases in its category, hence its name. The case supports up to 2 SSDs and 2 mechanical drives, and you can throw in up to 7 120mm fans in the case. Unlike the TechWare Edge, the side panels are acrylic rather than tempered glass, but that really isn't a bad thing at all. The top of the case does come with a magnetic dust filter as well, but the front acrylic panel doesn't actually have any form of ventilation. Now if you're wondering, the front panel does also come with 3 USB ports, but only one of them is a 3.0 version. The PSU shroud does also help to tidy things up a little, and of course, the left panel does have sufficient room for cable management. The Wider X3 retails at 199 ringgit, so if you're looking for a RGB fan bundle case, 3 fans to be specific, you may want to consider this. Finally, the Eiger Starship ATX case is one of the 4 cases that I personally recommend for anyone who is on a budget. Similar to the TechWare Quad, the Eiger does come with 2 color variants, but there is an option to purchase an add-on fan package for about 50 ringgit plus. From a personal experience, I've built a PC on this case, and it was one of the simpler cases to deal with, given the fact that you can actually open the top and front panel, which makes things much simpler when you're fitting on your case fans. Both top and front panel fits up to 2 120mm fans as well. So aesthetically speaking as well, the edges on the front panel does give the Eiger Starship 2 quite a dynamic look, but it does feel quite flimsy in terms of its build. I do, however, like the fact that they removed the weird looking front panels on the first version but included a plain mesh design on the current model in this video. Now cooling wouldn't be an issue with this case given the fact that there are 2 massive intakes on the top and on the rear. The slightly tinted acrylic panel on the side does also give the profile a nice stealthy look. The Eiger Starship 2 retails at 129 ringgit for just the case, and fans are generally sold separately. So in summary, there really isn't the best case for everyone. Which one of these 4 cases do you prefer? Would you prefer the TechWare Quad or the TechWare Edge? Or would you prefer the slightly wider Segotep Wider X3? Or would you prefer the Eiger Starship 2 instead? Well, I guess you have to look at your usage as well, and of course the types of hardware that you're about to fit in. I personally prefer the TechWear Edge because it sort of retains a simpler approach but still being very functional. Perhaps if I tend to commute or move around much or go for LAN parties, I'd go for the TechWear Quad instead. But you see, I'd also have to consider the fact that there is limited room for expansion. But if you're on a tighter budget, then you may want to consider the Eiger Starship 2. Out of the 4 cases, it's definitely the cheapest, but if you were to factor in the cost of fans as well, it may end up costing quite the same. The wider X3 provides the most value for money compared to all the other cases. Given the fact that its dimension is slightly wider from a front panel perspective, you do also get extra room for cable management. It does also come with 3 RGB fans and a controller, but unfortunately you can't actually use third-party fans due to the fact that the fan controller doesn't actually have a generic fan header pin. But I guess you see, Segotep does also come up with their own line of fans, so I guess you're pretty much covered from that perspective. Guys, that's all I have for this little video. Now, we all know for a fact that every single one of us have different preferences on cases, and these 4 cases that I listed to you earlier are my personal preferences. Now, of course, feel free to disagree, and you have any other suggestions in terms of other cases that you think may be worth the 200 ringgit price tag or lower, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Now, if you have not hit the subscribe button, do it right now. That'll be kind of nice. And of course, give me a big thumbs up if you like this video, and if you have any other suggestions, leave them in the comment section, or you can just drop me an email personally. Anyway guys, I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.